Well, it's Friday, the weekend starts here. Tomorrow, of course, is game day. 3 fantastic games on talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2. But let's park that for a moment, because now that Strictly Come Dancing's ended, what are you going to be watching on the TV? Well, if you're like me, you love your movies. And if you've got a big telly, it's like having a cinema in your front room, so you want some top film recommendations from one of the country's leading film critics. Well, except that person's not here, so we've got Van Connor. I'm joking, of course, Van. Welcome back, matey. The top man himself, Van Connor, with some big screen, small screen recommendations. Good morning, Van. How's your week been? You've been busy this week, haven't you?
It's been, do you know what? Pre-Christmas isn't been the busiest week you can imagine, Paul, but I'm always happy to be back with you, sir.
Brilliant stuff, and you're starting with a goodie for us tonight. Daddy's Home. Tell us why that one.
Do you know what? I have a soft spot for this. This got a rough ride from critics when it opened. This is only like 3-4 years ago. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg, small role for John Cena in there, and it's the quintessential recipe for a decent seasonal comedy. Admittedly, the sequel is entirely about Christmas, but the first one works as a Christmas movie in and of itself because it has certain seasonal themes. It's the idea of what happens when you're the new dad and your stepdad and the original dad comes back. The new dad in this case is Will Ferrell. The old dad, the original dad, is Mark Wahlberg.
So it's kind of the new dad's a new man and the old dad's a macho man.
Well, exactly that, and the sequel will expand on this idea, admittedly, but, you know, he really is the most macho of men, as you can imagine, for a Mark Wahlberg character.
Yeah, and we've got a clip, I think, from you, but it's Channel 4 tonight, it's 11:05, it's Daddy's Home. What clip have you chosen, Van?
I've chosen a clip of the two dads trying to outdo one another in nothing more than a bedtime reading session.
Here we go.
So the king raised his mighty sword, and he rained steel down upon the Step King.
But the Step King blocked it with his shield and swung his cat-o'-nine-tails into the king's smug face.
Which the king easily brushed aside like the feather of a gull. And then the king did counter with a barrage of slashes and thrusts so fast and precise that the Step King had no way to parry.
Yay!
But he did. He parried all of them. Easily. It was no big deal.
Aww.
And then he grabbed the king's sword right out of his hand and smashed it over his knee.
I must say, I laughed out loud at this so many times when I was this is a cracking comedy, a great choice, Van.
I had a great time with this. I remember I was very early into my national press show career when I saw this, and I remember this was a learning experience for me. This was a moment in which I had a bunch of critics tell me, well, that was rubbish. I was like, I laughed my ass off. What are you talking about? It was a good time.
Quite right.
And
that's why we love you, because you're not kind of guided by the snobbery of some critics. I mean, comedy is the most difficult genre to get right, isn't it?
I think so. It's an experience I would come to repeat. I think a year or two later when Baywatch would come out.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mark Wahlberg I'm fine for. Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell on peak Will Ferrell level.
What's not to love? Absolutely. Now, listen, I've got something rather different. 10 o'clock tonight, Talking Pictures TV. I do love the cinema of Michael Powell, Emmerich Pressburger. From I Know Where I'm Going, Canterbury Tale. They've also got Matter of Life and Death with David Niven, Life and Death of Colonel Blimp. But my favourite film of theirs is, I think, a superior twisted horror film, even to Psycho. I'm sure you've seen it. It's on Talking Pictures TV tonight. It's 10 o'clock. Van Connor, it's Peeping Tom. Would you rate this glorious, coloured, almost kind of psychopathic fantasy? It's a fantastic film, this, I think.
Oh, I would. I absolutely would. And like you say, I'm not surprised you would pick this because this is one of those benchmark classics. Like you say, this paved the way for Psycho. This is one of those films that proved to be an absolute touchstone for Scorsese. This is something Scorsese often sort of marks out as one of the films that got him started on his path. This is an absolute stone cold classic.
And in fact, Michael Powell, the director, turns up in it playing the father of the man who becomes the serial killer, who subjects him to a horribly cruel childhood. It's called Peeping Tom for a reason. You do need to see this film, folks. 10 o'clock tonight, Talking Pictures TV. And here from 1960 is the trailer.
Look out! Look out! Take care. You are being watched. We repeat, take care.
Wait!
Anna Massey is the girl who falls victim to the charms of a lonely stranger upstairs.
Switch it off, Mark. Mark, switch it off.
Maxine Audley as the blind woman who senses the danger that threatens her and her daughter, but is helpless.
Don't be frightened. Not frightened. What? So put that camera away.
There is no future for anyone who tries to befriend him. He invades the privacy of innocent people till the piercing eyes of his camera meet the terrified eyes of his victims. And with a compulsion akin to madness, he shoots the final, fearful scene.
I would say, folks, don't let the kind of camp, over-the-top nature of that voiceover, that trailer, put you off, because this is a film about voyeurism. It's incredibly modern. It's also a film about well, it is about childhood. It's about the kind of cruelty of some parents. It's a great film, this, I think. I must have seen this film a dozen times, and I find something new in it every time, Van.
No, I mean, for me, they absolutely don't make them like they used to. This is a proper old school chiller. This has the goosebumps in all the right places.
Okay, let's go now to your next recommendation. It could not be more different to Peeping Tom. It is the Alice the Sim classic, based, of course, on the Charles Dickens classic, which pretty much created Christmas. You've got Scrooge for us. Not Scrooged, but Scrooge.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, because I think Scrooge is the international title for it. I think do we get it as a Christmas Carol? It's up in the air. This is, for me, this is the definitive version of Dickens as a Christmas Carol. And how can you not love it with Alice the Sim in that absolute just scene-stealing, role-owning turn? As Scrooge.
I must say, the thing is, after seeing him do it, although Michael Caine's great in A Muppet Christmas Carol and other people have had a go at it, I think Patrick Stewart was Scrooge in a film, but actually this is the original and the best as far as movie Scrooges go, isn't it? Beautiful. I hope they're running the black and white version. I've seen it colorised, which doesn't really work.
Yeah, I've never liked the colorised version myself either, to be honest, Paul, but it's all about the black and white version. And do you know what? With Alice the Sim, it is all in the eyes, isn't it? He just does it all, just right there in the pupils, right there for you.
Fantastic stuff. It's Scrooge from 1951. It's on 5. It's 3:10 this afternoon. Which bit have you chosen, Van?
I have chosen my personal favourite bit, and this is when the charity collectors come round and ask Scrooge in his pre-misery phase for his donation.
Here we go.
What can I put you down for?
Nothing.
You wish to be anonymous?
I wish to be left alone. Since you ask me what I wish, sir, that is my answer. I help to support the establishments I have mentioned. Those who are badly off must go there.
Many can't go there, and some would rather die.
If they would rather die, they'd better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, it's not my business.
Isn't it, sir?
No. It is enough for a man to understand his own business without interfering with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
I mean, the thing I love about the story and the film is that, okay, yes, you have to take off the Victorian trappings, but it's such a brilliant story. The bit near the end of the story when, or in the middle, it goes to Christmas present, and Scrooge finally notices he's got 2 children, ragged, starving-looking children under his cloak. And Scrooge says, I don't remember this, but he says, where are those 2 children? And the ghost of Christmas present says, the girl is want, the boy is ignorance. Beware them both, but beware the boy most of all. And that is so chilling, the kind of, the terrifying things that people can do out of ignorance and fear and desperation. It's a brilliant film. Now, thank you for choosing that one, Van. I've got one for you. I'm not going to play a clip of this because I don't want to give too much away, but it's from 2014. Huge Luc Besson classic, a blockbuster, made a fortune. It is a great film, though. It's got your Morgan Freeman, Scarlett Johansson. It's on Film 4, 9 o'clock tomorrow night. It's called Lucy. And basically, she is somebody who gets involved in a drug deal. She becomes a drug mule unwittingly. The drugs inside of the bag burst. It's a new kind of psychotropic drug, and it gives her the most amazing powers. I'm surprised there's never been a sequel to this one, Ben. Did you enjoy Lucy when it came out?
Oh, I did, and actually, they're still to this day, as far as I believe, trying to do a sequel, because on a financial level, this is actually Luc Besson's most financially successful movie at the box office. It has so much going for it in terms of, the international appeal, Scarlett Johansson, the action chops, and, it plays on that old idea that we only use 10% of our brains, that idea.
4% in my case, 4% for me.
You sell yourself short, Mr. Ross, but you know what? Hell of a movie and a damn good picture.
Okay, so that's 9 o'clock tomorrow night, and again, it's a great one because it's a kind of thinking, cerebral film, but it's also a fantastic action film, and you've got something very family-friendly for Sunday for us, haven't you?
I would say less cerebral, but a lot more emotional and a lot more cuddly and warm and loving. It is the very first Paddington movie, the first of the live-action Paddington movies in 2014. Paddington played by Ben Whishaw, who I believe took over the role from Colin Firth, who had done the role during production. I think they decided late on that it simply just didn't fit what they'd imagined with Colin Firth. They wanted something a little bit more youthful, a little bit more fun.
And it's odd because Ben Whishaw and Colin Firth ended up together in Mary Poppins Returns.
They did, and I remember thinking that was just sort of weird quirk. Because the
Kismet.
family here... Kismet, that's the term, sir. I think the family here are played by Sally Hawkins, played by Hugh Bonneville, and you've got the supporting cast that includes Nicole Kidman as the villain. You've got Peter Capaldi, just pre-Doctor Who, or I think just starting Doctor Who at that time, as a sort of neighbourhood annoyance. A supporting cast that includes Sangeet Bhaskar, for instance. And, we all know the sequel for this will go on to become an absolute, a work of iconography in and of itself. But that first one, this is the more Christmassy of the two. And I think this is, how the family meet Paddington, how they get involved in it, how they have to defend him from an almost Cruella de Vil-like poacher who really just wants that African bear for her trophy war.
Oh, the Peruvian skin of poor old Paddington. It's 7:15 Sunday night on Channel 4. Here's the clip.
I'm dreadfully sorry, I don't actually know your name.
Oh, well, I've got a bear name, but it seems to be rather hard to pronounce. That's not right.
Or perhaps you like an English name?
An English name? Like what?
Oh, look, Henry, it's perfect.
You want to call him Ketchup?
No.
Ketchup the bear?
Paddington.
Paddington. Paddington? Sorry. I like it.
It's a great mixture of a kind of witty scripts and slapstick, and it is just a really warm, fuzzy-feeling film, this one, isn't it, Van?
I think for me, the thing that really sets it apart, that clip just aptly really demonstrates so well, is that it does that classic old-timey British thing. Almost, there's a sense of carry-on to it, which I know you'd appreciate. But there's also a sense of knowing present-day irony and that immigration, sensibility to it that I thought was really refreshing. I thought the way they played it with Ben Whishaw was just perfect. I genuinely, although I know that Colin Firth would have done amazing with it, I think they made the right call with this one.
Because he looks more like a kind of dad who's learning how to be a dad still, whereas Colin Firth is that bit more kind of, a bit more avuncular. Now, I'm going to end with a slightly longer trailer for my final recommendation. It is Sunday. It's ITV2. It is John Candy's finest hour, in my opinion. Also, he's working with John Hughes, Mr. Home Alone, and we've got Macaulay Culkin on screen. I think this is pre-Home Alone, it must be. You've got to love Uncle Buck, surely, Van.
I do, and I believe this is exactly 1 year pre-Home Alone. So this is sort of how they discovered Macaulay Culkin. It's so good, isn't it?
It's Sunday night. It's ITV2. Have a listen to the trailer.
Where do you live?
City.
You have a house?
Apartment.
Or a rent?
Rent.
What do you do for a living?
Lots of things.
Where's your office?
I don't have one.
How come?
I don't need one.
Where's your wife?
Don't have one.
How come?
It's a long story.
Do you have kids?
No, I don't.
How come?
It's an even longer story.
Are you my dad's brother?
I'm your dad's brother, all right.
Buck Russell had always been the black sheep of the family.
I'm stunned that I'm related to you.
Until one night.
Buck, we have a problem with the kids. We're stuck for somebody to watch them.
Oh, please, not that.
Can we trust him?
My brother, for God's sake.
I won't let him get into that Satan stuff or any of the new chicks. I'll leave that for me. Wow. I'm kidding, huh?
Now, he's making them breakfast.
Cigar?
No, thanks.
Making them lunch. And making them crazy.
What did you do?
He's irresistible.
And I want to ask you why I'm so attracted to you.
I wouldn't even guess at that.
Whoa!
As Uncle Buck.
What does he like to drink? I've been leaving the toilet seats up. Is that what the blue water is? It's not good for him, huh?
Oh, wow.
Uncle Buck, the new comedy from John Hughes.
You have much more hair on your nose than my dad.
Well, nice of you to notice.
I'm a kid, that's my job.
I'm a kid, that's my job. Those two are great together. That's a fantastic film, Van, and you've been a fantastic addition to the show for a few months now. Thank you very much indeed. Listen, I've got a favour to ask, Van. You all right? You sitting down?
Anything for
okay.
you. So.
Can we hook up in the early hours of Christmas morning for your Christmas film recommendations for the TV? Would that be all right?
Do you know what? That sounds like a big ask, but for you, I'm willing to do it.
I'll make sure Santa takes you off the naughty list and puts you on the nice list. That was our mate Van Connor. Where can we find your stuff, Van? Because you're in animated form, are you not in the new year again?
Well, that's it. In the new year, you'll be able to find me on back on YouTube with the relaunched Me Movies show in animated cartoon head form, reviewing the week's latest films. You'll also be able to find me on podcast platforms every Friday, back from the 10th, with Rebecca Perfect doing the ultimate 7-day movie guide on the off-screen show.
Van, have a great week. Happy Christmas, and we'll talk Christmas Day morning on talkSPORT Extra Time.